Welcome to the What's Your Weird Story podcast.
Everyone has at least one good story.
And some of us have stories that are just to the left of normal.
We're interested in the ones that push the boundaries of what we can perceive.
Stories that defy explanations.
Stories with an air of mystery.
Stories we might not share
for fear of being thought of differently.
But don't worry, we're all friends here. So, what's your weird story? Hello, Weirdsville. Guys, it is... Wow, I don't even know where to start. I guess just to say thank you for listening to us once again. What's Your Weird Story? The podcast with all your weird stories that you share from you, our listeners and friends, every week for 53 weeks, for one entire year to this very day.
Yeah.
Hooray!
Yeah.
Woo!
This is our 1 year anniversary show, and I am your host, Adam Beebe. With me, as always, is our co-host, Barry Johnston.
Hey, what's happening?
And we are also very delighted to be joined today by our resident Bigfoot expert, special correspondent, voice of the listener, and occasional co-host, Jeff Hubbard.
Hey, everybody!
So I think at this point we're almost walking, if not walking. You know, we're getting to that point. It's been a lot of figuring the world out in our little Weirdsville slice of the world, and it's been fun. It's been great. I can't believe it. One freaking year, man.
Yeah, 1 year, man. And it's just so special that it fell on the exact same day that we launched.
That's amazing.
You know, and wow. It's just, you know, we can't, Barry and I talk about this, and Jeff, all of us talk about this off air a lot, but like, it's just amazing that we've had such a rich diversity of people that have come to us and shared their stories, and that we've been able to get an episode out every week, you know, for a year. And yeah, we are patting ourselves on the back because, you know, I mean, we're just, you know, hey, it's our first birthday party, you know, and we're excited. And
this is not, listen, it's effort, right, to do that. And I'm not saying that so, you know, people be like, oh yeah, you know, we have fun, right? But at the same time, you got to do the work. You got to edit stuff. You got to talk to people. You got to make time in the schedule to make it all work. And I'm just proud of us for keeping it on. I mean, we never missed a beat. I actually think we finished the year strong. We had some real strong guests.
Yeah, we sure did.
That really made me feel good that, like, we started strong, and we've, you know, got to this point where the guests just continue to blow my mind.
Yeah. Well, I think just about every guest that we've had has always said something, at least one thing, to blow my mind. It's been an amazing journey, dude.
It has.
Yeah, I am proud of you guys. You know, my job here is not really a job. I come and hang out occasionally. You know, you guys do the heavy lifting. You know, I mean, Adam's arranging interviews, making notes on the interviews. Barry, you're doing all the editing, and I mean, there's advertisements. There's, you know, the drawings that Adam does, and I don't know. I mean, I am very proud of you guys. 52 weeks in a row. I think it's a great accomplishment. I can't wait to hear and see this thing continue to grow, and really looking forward to it, guys.
Yeah, we started with it's been a slow, gradual build, but man, the last few weeks, it's really just kind of ramping up a little bit with the downloads that we're getting, the numbers that we're seeing. But yeah, I mean, you know, Adam's done a great job. I mean, there's a lot that goes into, even though it sounds like there isn't, because we're pretty laid back people, but there are things that have to be done on the other side to, like, get things, not even just the interviews going, but like the concepts of what are we doing, the ideas of what kind of shows that we need to start, looking at, and that all comes from you, the creative side of that. And it's been, I know that you've been working your butt off, and we appreciate it. Thank you, man, for all that.
I appreciate all that, guys, but we are a team, and that's what I always tell people, and that's the best thing about doing this, is I get to do this with my two best friends from way back when. So it's awesome. So
it's been smooth. It's been smooth.
It's been remarkably smooth. And we started off having no experience doing any kind of podcasting. We just, we knew we wanted to do this. We knew how we wanted to approach it, and we really haven't altered too much from that, but we've gotten better,
Yeah.
And we've had, just like I said, it goes down to the guest. The guests come on and they share their stories, their amazing stories, the diversity of the stories. It's fantastic. But, we got a good kickoff with Metis, and, we've been sailing through ever since. And, there's times where it's tight and it's tough and it's like scrambling to find a guest, and, because we've had somebody and they've canceled for whatever or stood us up. But, we've had people just pop in out of nowhere to help us out. And it's been a ride, man. It's been fantastic, but it's been one of the most enjoyable creative endeavors that I've been a part of, for sure.
Yeah. It's interesting. It's continues to evolve. I mean, I think in the beginning, just figuring each other out and the pace of it. And I think, when we get Hub in, it's been great because he falls into place, and we all just kind of just talk, and it's natural, and it certainly it makes you think about things a little bit differently when you're asking questions to guests. Because it's just a different thing. It's being a good listener and holding conversation that people can get. And I think that we're kind of getting better at that. That's good.
Yeah. So for this episode, for our anniversary episode, we're going to be talking about some of our favorite moments from the past year, the various interviews and talks and discussions that we've had with our guests. And, we can't talk about every single one. We'd love to, but we're just hitting a few highlights. But each and every single one of our guests, we can't thank you enough for being on the show and helping us along and build up what we're doing. And especially, and the people who come back and share, and we just always have such a good time. So we're going to talk about those highlights, and then we've got a frequently asked questions kind of portion that we're going to answer some, generalized questions and have discussions about that. And then next week we'll be returning back to our regular program, as it were, with the second part of our Dr. Louis Torrey interview. And it's something else. So if you didn't, if you checked out last week and heard Dr. Torrey speak, we're really getting into it next week. So that'll be worth checking out. But I guess without further ado, what's our favorite weird story?
All of them?
All of them? Yeah. All right. All right. So here we are, the three of us, and we are going to discuss some of our favorite moments from this past year of our the first year of our podcast here. Obviously, one of my favorite things about the podcast is being able to hang out with my two of my oldest friends and do this thing together. But let's talk about some of our favorite moments from our guest over the past year. So we'll each take turns and we can comment on it, just kind of like we normally do. So let's start, Barry. We'll start with you.
Oh, man. When I saw the question come up, I was like, man, it doesn't seem like that long ago. But then when you start pouring through the episodes, you're like, wow, man, we've done a lot in a year, So it's like, so I went back through and started to refresh myself. And I could have picked a lot of the episodes for my favorite one for maybe selfish reasons, because I enjoy the subject matter or whatever. But The one that stuck out to me as maybe a turning point. I don't know if it's a turning point really, but it was the storytelling was just so enjoyable. Was episode 16, and that was with your mom's friend Kip. And the title was "People They Like to Touch Me for Some Reason," and she had the most. The reason why I picked that, I think, too, is because her story about the person that left the roses or the flowers on the kitchen table, and then they do the forensics on it and stuff, and it's like, if you haven't listened to that episode, guys, please go back and visit that. All of these episodes that we're going to talk about, if you haven't listened to any of them, go listen to them, because it's just some great storytelling. But that's kind of my first one that I went with. Yeah.
I had made notes about that one as well. Because Kip had just a great variety of stories, and just great storyteller, and just like you said, it was kind of like, it was a big progression, I think, just in general, and I think, I guess, we started like kind of become, I don't know, getting better at questions and interacting, and we had kind of just started hitting our stride with that, which, we're still hitting our stride, I suppose, but I think we started really kind of like getting some solid, professionalism or whatever. I don't know, but more than about us is Kip's stories were just really amazing. With the guy that lived in that got crushed by was a truck or whatever. And that would touch all the women and all that stuff. But really, really cool story. And I will never forget how she talked about the smells of, like, the smell of bacon and the flowers when there's nothing there. So
just creepy shit, man. It's great episode. Great episode.
That was a good episode. I thought, the forensics that they did on those flowers, I thought that was, to actually have the ability to get that done was amazing. So that was a great episod.
Fantastic.
Cool. All right. Well, we'll do this. We'll just we'll go each take turns, and Hub, what's one of yours?
Okay. Well, for me, I'm going to start with Shan Yoder's Bigfoot story.
Yeah, man. That was going to wind up on my list, but
I kind of have to, and really, I would say that story was the story that really kind of brought me into the fold. Because it was a Bigfoot story, and it kind of brought me on board, but also, with Bigfoot being so near and dear to my heart, and also Kingfisher being such a special place to me, to have those two things come together in one story, was amazing. And the way Shan, like I said in the recap that we did, I wasn't able to be on there for the interview, but he told the story so well, and his voice and everything about it just really captivated me, and thought it was a great story.
Yeah, totally, dude. He dissected every minute of that experience, and he, I remember him saying, "I hope I can do it justice to a story that I've told 1,000 times before."
Exactly.
And he absolutely did, man. It was, man, that was an experience.
Yeah.
And I felt, I felt the experience. I felt like there, as he was going along. And
don't you love it when guests get really into it? You could tell that, like, okay, he's been thinking about this, and how I'm going to deliver it is going to make, the difference between winning or losing, a listener. Yeah, it was just great, man. And a lot of people that come on, once we are rolling, I think they just sort of get into the zone, and they just, make it happen, and he was one of them. Man, that was a great story. That was going to make my list, but I just, I figured somebody's going to pick that, so I'll go with something.
Well, I knew Hub. I knew that was going to be one or two right there on Hub's list. But I didn't even bother with it on mine.
That was definitely my top choice. He painted a beautiful picture, and just put you right there. And he had thought so much about it. You could tell. I think it happened in 2004. That was 15 years ago, and it seemed like he remembered it like it happened the day before. And you could tell he had thought about it a lot since then.
Well, he said it was a life-changing experience, and it certainly was. It certainly was. So that was cool. We appreciate Shannon for sharing that, man.
Yeah.
So what's yours, Adam?
Well, I've got a lot, just like the rest of you. And I was thinking about this, and so one of my favorite Kit was on my list, and I've got a couple other things. One of my favorites was Sean's a couple of weeks ago, because it was just a fun episode. They didn't find anything when they went ghost hunting. They found Acid Park, and I knew about that, and I never got to see it, but they found it at night, and they, just going out with your buddies, just growing up in a small town and being bored and just not having anything to do, then you will just try to find things to do.
Yeah.
Because I know we did all sorts of stupid stuff, just to fight boredom.
Yeah.
And so many things that, we probably, we would have gotten into a lot of trouble.
Yeah. There's only so many times you can drag Maine,
Exactly. And so it just really reminded me of that, and it just just hanging out with your friends when you're young and dumb and just looking for adventure in something.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
I really enjoyed that.
He was great. Really nice guy to talk to. Mm-hmm. And like we said in the episode, sometimes it's about the adventure, and it's not necessarily if you find something. It's a good story to tell later that that you got to experience.
Yeah, that is true.
Cool. Well, Bear, what do you think? How about another one from you, man?
I would. I think my number 2 is. I'm kind of going, I guess, in some sort of order, but because when I'm looking at when I'm seeing the information on what we've done, right? Mm-hmm. I have a different, I'm looking at it like, okay, how were we then? What were pivotal points? Mm-hmm. So I guess this other one would have been, and I could have chosen Metis for number 1 because he was, our first guest, and then he was also our first repeat guest. And he's a great storyteller. But I chose his second episode, which was episode 28, and then there was Blood Everywhere is the title of it. And I think the reason why I'm kind of into crime shows and stuff like that, investigations.
Yeah.
And the story about him in the hotel room partying at night, and then waking up to a bunch of police officers storming the room next door to them, and blood being all over the place. It's just like I get it. It put me in a place. I was seeing the story as he was telling it.
Yeah, dude. Metis again was going to be on my list as well, because he set the tone with the first episode. He definitely set the tone about the majority of what we're trying to accomplish with this show. Yeah. The types of stories that we set out to bring in, and of course we've broadened the net now to where it's like weird can be as you interpret it, and it can be a job, or it can be a thing or an event or something that happened to you, or maybe you just got a really awesome story. We just like to hear that. But definitely both times that Metis came on, were just, just such entertainment, man. And he's just, like you said, he's just a great storyteller. And those hotel stories, that one, and with the one where from his aunt, where about the piece of like jaw stuck in the wall, like all that stuff, and just man, gore, but still super entertaining.
But it happened. It happened to somebody. It's like, oh my god, what if that happened to me? I would be freaking the fuck out, man.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Well, Hub, how about you? You got, what's another one, a moment that you really enjoyed?
Yeah, I've got another one. And I tell you, this is Barry's biker story. Because that story, I usually listen to the podcast when I'm in the car. Sometimes it is, I have to break it into two different segments, maybe on the way to work and on the way home. And then sometimes they carry over into the next day.
Right.
But I know I was driving when I was listening to that, and I did not see the ending coming on that story. And I was kind of wondering where you were going with that. Mm-hmm. But I swear to God, I got, and I'm kind of getting them right now, goosebumps when the whole story unfolded, and I was just like, what happened there? Yeah. It is amazing.
Yeah.
It was really an amazing story.
Well, thanks, man. It still freaks me out when I think about it. That whole night was just so ominous. And it's like when you tell people that story, I've told that to a few different people, and even just trying to tell the story, you don't think it's living up to the actual story or the actual night itself. It never will, but man, it was a weird night, and it really made me think. It haunted me for a little while. It was something that I don't know if I told this in the story or not, but I went looking for his girlfriend or his. They were married, common law marriage. They lived with each other forever. And I went looking for her because we had a mutual friend, and I just felt like I owed it to him because he was speaking about his family so much and how much he loved his family, that I felt like I owed it to her to tell her, hey, I was the last one, because I didn't know if he talked to her or not when he left. So I was going to tell her what we talked about, and I would want somebody to do that for me, I never was able to get in contact with her, but I did have my dad did speak to her, and she told him that the way he was acting with me is so out of character for him. Why he would open up to me, and she's like, I have no idea why he would have done that. So that just even makes me feel more like, wow. He was trying to tell me something.
Yeah, that's so true. And, the fact that was the first night you'd ever talked to him. You'd lived down.
I think I said hello to him or something, maybe, like in a couple of years past, but never a conversation.
Yeah. Such an eerie story.
Yeah, for real.
And the night that it happened with the storms and rain and all the lightning and
dude, that was just the perfect setting for a ghost story.
Oh, totally.
Yeah. Thanks, Hub.
So great story, Barry.
Thanks,
and you told the story so well.
Yeah. Thanks, man.
So it was great.
Wow, that's great. Well, thanks, man. You make me humble.
Well, it looks like we're back to Adam for another one.
What do you got?
So like we've been talking, there's so many really great moments of talking to people, and we don't want anybody to feel like excluded, because we certainly enjoyed talking to everybody who's come on and shared. But one of the moments that really got under my skin was in episode 23. Let's try the bird soup. When you probably know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
When Angela was talking about how she and her friend were staying the night in that church or the church building, and they kept feeling like they were being watched, that somebody was there, but there wasn't supposed to be anybody there. And then she's like, just kind of jokingly said, "Is anybody here?" And then they hear something, and then freak the fuck out and run and start cussing out the Jesuit priest to make them come over and look around. And then lo and behold, there's some creepy guy in the ceiling, and and they're just and of course the priests are like, "Oh, he's harmless" or whatever. But man, I don't care. Yeah. That would not convince me that he's harmless. That was just such a creepy moment. And you hear a lot of like urban legends of people living in the walls and living in the ceiling, and and somebody who lived somehow had access to your apartment or whatever, and you hear about this stuff, but you never hear firsthand from somebody who's had some kind of experience like that. Yeah. And I certainly wasn't expecting that kind of story whenever she said, "Oh, I've got these stories from when I went to Alaska." But man, that was just so great because it was such a curveball and it was such a creepy story, and it was got me all wound up in it, man. Yeah. And I really, really enjoyed that.
That was great, man. That was great. She was great. And it really, I think that episode in particular kind of was a changing in that, it was a different type of story. It was a different type of, it kind of opened the door for some other stuff. And the actual bird soup story is hilarious. Just about being super awkward in you're trying to be so respectful, but you just can't stomach what's being presented in front of you to eat. It's like, oh man, I get that for sure. That's so crazy.
Yeah. Well, that brings me to the question: is Jeff? You just recently got back from a cruise there in Alaska, and did you have the opportunity to try any bird soup?
I did not get the opportunity to try any bird soup.
Would you have though?
I really didn't eat anything weird. I had some lobster tail.
Okay, that's good.
I had some ribeye steak.
Good.
I did eat some reindeer.
Reindeer.
Some reindeer. Yeah, it really was good. Mine was in the form of sausage, but had plenty of fish and salmon.
Good salmon.
Yeah, it was fresh and delicious, and I tell you, I really don't regret anything about the trip other than the fact that when we were in the airport on the way to come home in Anchorage, and all these men were sitting around with these boxes with frozen fresh fish in them, and I was just like, man, I should be taking some of that stuff home too. Yeah. But I never got an opportunity to fish, but I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna try to do some of that and try to make that dream a reality next time I go up there. So
I've always wanted to do the Alaska fishing trip, man. Damn.
Yeah, man. It would be so cool. Yeah. The salmon were in the creeks and rivers, and I mean, they're just there for the picking. Right. It's so easy, I think, because they're just teeming with fish, and you just have to get out there and do it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Just kind of got to know where you're at and where you're going.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
There is a lot of country out there. Isn't it I can't remember what the exact mileage across is, but it's freaking massive.
Yeah, dude, it's massive. It's like it's like, I don't know, like 2.5 Texases or something like that.
That's
even
right.
More,
That's right. Yeah, it's 2.5 times the size of Texas.
Wow.
And Texas is huge.
Yeah, it was. It's a wild place, man. We saw some moose and a baby moose, and we got to pick some wild blueberries.
Ooh, nice.
And we ate those. Yeah, that was kind of a highlight of the trip, and yeah, it was great. It was a great time. Alaska's an amazing place.
Yeah. Did you get a chance to do any Bigfoot research?
I did not get a chance I did not. Yeah, that will be. I think I'd imagine those rivers and creeks would be a great place to try to spot. I bet you Bigfoot's doing a little hand fishing out there.
Oh yeah, you know what, dude?
Big time. I was just out there too. We were talking about that before, Hub. And when you're out there, you realize how dense that forest is, man.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know what's lurking in there.
Right. Mm-hmm. And there's plenty of stuff to eat in there. And, those blueberries we picked, I think they're everywhere.
Yeah.
I think they're everywhere up there. And, it's just a prime habitat. And I don't know.
Yeah.
I think it's a good place to spot something.
Yeah. Sounds like there could be a What's Your Weird Alaska cruise.
That would be fantastic. Dude. We could set something like that up. We got to get some more follows, so people, we can book that and get all that taken care of. That would be fun.
That'd be cool. Adam, we could put you out there with some bears, and maybe with that beard, they might recognize you as one of their own. They might not. It may be a good story either way.
Papa.
I'm pretty sure that the big beard is a pretty common thing there in Alaska with all the winters and everything. So
yeah, that is true. That is very true.
That's why you shed the shirt. You know what I mean? Get the back hair out.
Dude, and I know the listeners are going to be dying to hear this information, but I don't have back hair.
I don't either.
I don't have, I'm not over like my dad. You remember my dad? My dad
he was hairy dude. Yeah, he was a hairy dude.
He was a hairy dude. I do not. I guess I take after my mom because she doesn't have back hair either. But of course, you've got all men have the little fuzzy bunny tail thing there on the lower back. But that's about it.
What is a fuzzy bunny tail?
You do have some lower back hair.
Lower back hair. Everybody has that lower back hair.
I'm surprised you didn't get electrolysis for that when you got your tramp stamp.
They just shaved it.
That's great.
Great. Now I'm gonna have to get a tramp stamp.
Just get a unicorn.
Oh, well, Barry, how about you got another one for us?
Okay, yeah. So my other one is episode 35, Cute Little Spot of Terror with Heather from California.
Yeah.
I just loved that story about her growing up in her house and all the crazy, weird shit that would go on there, It's like... Again, I don't know what I would do if that were me. All I know is I wouldn't be as comfortable as she was with it. I don't know. I don't know what I would have done.
Yeah, well, I think she was so used to it, that although she did freak out as well.
Yeah. And I can't wait till she comes back and does the follow up and gets we were like, hey, you need to bring a investigative team over there because there's so much stuff going on, and she's thought about doing that, but I think it needs to happen. I would love to be a part of that. We'll do the tour out to her house and then up to Alaska.
That sounds like a good West Coast tour, man. We can stop there. We can hit up some other haunted places up in the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah.
We're track for Bigfoot and then finish it off with fishing up there in Alaska.
She got a hold of us and she really wanted to get on, and she really delivered. She's just funny and just really a joy to talk to,
Yeah, she really was. She was very eager and so friendly, and just a ton of fun to talk to. And she was just rip roaring and ready to go, and it was a blast. It really was. That was a great interview.
Yeah.
All right. Well, how about you? Got another one for us? Mentioning?
Yeah, I do have another one. I think I'm going to have to go with, I don't know what episode number it was, but I got to go with shit hickeys.
Yeah.
That is my kind of story, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, when he was telling that story, you know, I kind of thought a lot about myself, and I could tell that story had kind of taken on a life of its own as he told it, you know, throughout his life, and you could tell he had told it many times, and because there's so many little things that, you know, he added in, and that just made the story that much more hilarious. And I mean, it was a fabulous story, and just, I mean, to imagine that happening to you, I mean, because those deer strikes happen, you know, I mean, it is completely out of the blue. You're not ready for it, and for that to happen, and the aftermath of all of it, it was just insane.
Well, you know, I mean, Jimmy is an incredible storyteller. He is got a million of them. We will definitely be having him back. And also want to throw out a congratulations to him and his wife. They're expecting their first child. I don't know exactly any time now, but they are expecting. Great. So that'll be a few months away. Cool. But yeah, like you said, those deer collisions with your car will happen, and you don't see it coming. Mm-hmm. And you and I know that firsthand.
Oh yeah,
because
that was an epic night.
That was an epic night, and I'm going to tell this story real quickly here to break up some of this, but it's a great story, I think. So Hub and I were driving around. It was like the last week or two of high school, mm-hmm. and it was a school night, but I think it was like the last week because we really didn't even have to do anything. But there was was it Quail Hunters Association?
Yeah, it was the Kingfisher County Sportsman's Club.
And
it was a quail fundraiser, I guess. Yeah.
So your dad invited me to go along with you guys, and right. You know, and Dennis had never done anything like that, and but he did that. I was like, sure, okay, you know, I've never been hunting. I'm not that kind of guy, but you know, that's part of the culture out there. But we went along, and you know, I was 18 and you were 17, and we went in. And you saw that, you know, they had an open bar. They had kegs of beer.
Yeah.
And so you're like, I'm going to go and try to get me a beer. And I'm like, go for it, dude. I didn't drink it this time. I was like, go for it, dude. And you're like, okay. So you get up and you walk over there. And, dude, you were a young-looking 17.
Oh,
you know?
Yeah.
And you were a young-looking, you know, 26. So, like, you know, let's get this, you know, straight. And so, but you went over there. And you just, I guess you have the confidence or whatever. I don't know. The swagger. I don't know. But you got served a couple of beers.
Yeah.
And your dad, he didn't care. And so we sat there as this guy was telling this boring ass lecture about quail hunting and all these things you got to do. They kept asking people, how many of you done this? And I would raise my hand every single time. And Jeff would just laugh and laugh and laugh because I didn't really know what they were talking about. I just raised my hand, but yeah, that was me. And you know, all this. So we finish up with the dinner, and Jeff's got a little bit of a buzz on. We go back to his house. He's like, you know, man, it was a Monday night. I remember this now. He's like, yo, man, I wouldn't mind driving around. You know, I got a couple of beers left from the weekend. I wouldn't mind driving around and you know, finishing those off. And I was like, you know, I wouldn't mind driving you around while you do that.
Great.
I don't care. You know, I'm not going to drink, but I'll drive you around. And so we're driving around town, and we're just, you know, we're just casual. I don't know. Jeff probably had like 3 or 4 beers, and he just put them in his cooler and put in my my silver Calais, 1987 Calais that I bought from my brother.
It's a beautiful car.
I remember that car.
Beautiful car. It's my first car, dude. Man, it was great. Silver Jizz is what we called it. So we're driving around town, and nobody's out because it's a Monday night, you know, and it's school night. And we're driving around. We see Tim Ring when we're driving in the park, and Tim, you know, we pull over and we're just like hanging out the window talking, you know, to Tim. And he's like, what you guys doing? And Jeff's like, nothing. We're just driving around. And he picks up tips back one of his beers, and Tim was like, he's like, y'all might want to, not do that in town. And he kind of looks around, cops. And so we're like, oh yeah, the police might not like, underage drinking in town, and me driving around is not going to put me in, that's not going to help me out really. So we say, oh yeah, okay. So we go out in the country, and which is what you do. I mean, sometimes you just go drive around in the country because you're bored, just like Sean and his buddies. And so we're driving out in the country. We're driving south of town towards Jeff's grandpa's place where we used to go camping. It's called Altona, this farm area that he's got out there. And we're just cruising along, and we decided we're going to share a clove cigarette because we had
man, the clove cigarette.
Remember that, dude?
Does that take you back or what?
Yeah.
God.
Yeah, our senior year we discovered clove cigarettes, and they had the flavor on the Djarum, I think was that. They had the flavor on the tips, the sweetness.
Yeah.
But you smoke it and you get a little bitty buzz. But if you smoke too much of it, you get really nauseous.
Oh yeah. It happened to me.
Oh, you did not feel good. So we're smoking this clove cigarette and handing it back and forth, and Jeff's handing it to me, and he drops it, and it drops down between the seats. So we both like, and I'm flying. I'm going like 85 down this road, country road. It's paved, but it's a country road, and it's it's straight, but still it's a country road. And I'm flying, and like Jeff drops it, and I'm like, okay, so I take my foot off of the gas and kind of let it just start coasting down a little bit, and I'm putting a little bit of brake, but not a whole lot. And we're looking because Jeff can't find it, and because it's dusk. So, one night where you could just see the cherry glowing, so we couldn't find it. And then finally, I look over and kind of like am doing the hand on the wheel, kind of glancing back and forth. We find it, we pull it back up, and like right when we do that, we're like, oh, yeah, I got it. We look up, and there are 5 deer that are like mid-air crossing the road. Right in front of us, man, and we're just like, and so slam on the brakes, and I'm like just super slow. I mean, I fortunately slowed down to like we weren't going very fast, but I slammed on the brakes, and we're yelling, and like 2 of them just clear us, but then like one of them we clip the back, and the other one hits, and it hits almost dead on. Like it comes onto the driver's side. In the corner, it rolls up onto the hood, it hits the windshield, and then it rolls off, and it's and by this time we had even come to a complete stop, but still it didn't matter because there was momentum going both ways. And then another one like shut off, so like 3 of them got away, 2 of them got hit, but one of them just got clipped, but one of them, man, we like just nailed full on. And so we're like, oh God. So we're freaking out. So we drive, we turn around, we get out of my car, and we look at my car. It's all fucked up. It's all crashed, man, but it's still drivable, but it's all like, like a lot of cosmetic damage,
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. And so, I mean, it's got blood, it's got fur on it, the windshield's cracked, it's the grill is gone, it's like got body damage and all this stuff. So we're like, oh God damn, what are we gonna do? And Jeff's like, well, we got to because it's wildlife, we gotta get it off the road, and we gotta put it out of its misery, or we gotta get it off the road regardless, because we thought it was dead. So we get in the car, we creep back up to it, we get about 5 yards away from the car, from the deer. We get out, we start going up to it to see, for trying to figure out how we're going to get this dead animal off the road. And we get like 3 feet away, and that thing, bam, pops right up, and it starts trying to get away, but its back 2 legs are just broken, dude.
Yeah,
or its spine is broken or something, but because it cannot move its back legs.
Damn, man. So
we kind of like, we chased it off the road, and it just is there in the side in the ditch. And we go back into town, and we tell Jeff's dad what's up, and he says, well, he's like, you got to go kill it, you got to go put it out of its misery. And so we're like, okay. He's like, and you can't just leave it there. And we're like, okay. So we get back, and Jeff's dad had an old Army Jeep. And so we took that out, and Jeff, he put it out of its misery because that was the right thing to do because that animal was just in pain. And put it out of its misery. We put it in the back of that Jeep on the bed. We drove into town to Mach 1 where Cy Smith was working because we was like, hey, Cy, do you want this dead deer? We know you like to make deer jerky and stuff.
We tried it.
Because he's working there. He's the fry cook at the Mach 1. So he comes out and he's like, no. He's like, he's like, how'd it die? He's like, we hit it. And he's like, nah, I can't use this. There might be the intestines might have bursted inside and made all the meat bad. And we're like, oh, we didn't even think about that. Yeah. So he's like, well, we're like, Si, what do we do? He's like, just go throw it in a creek bed, man. Let the coyotes get them. It's like, oh, okay. So we drove out, shoved it off a bridge and down into a creek bed, and just left it there.
Yeah.
And it and then that was the death of the silver jizz.
That's crazy, man.
It was a pretty emotional night.
It really was.
I mean,
it really was.
When it was, it was so injured, and I think maybe even one of its front legs was broken, and it was trying to walk, and the bones were just scraping on the asphalt, and it was I'll never forget that. It was
hard to watch.
It was kind of a crazy night. Yeah.
So if anybody is interested, I actually did a brief telling of that in a comic book form. And I made a little mini comic that has that story, and also has my Missing Time alien ear story in comics that I did. And if you're interested in that, contact us, and for a few bucks I can get. I think I may have some printed up still, but I might have to print up some more. But yeah, I can for a few bucks I can print it up and mail it off to you, and I'll sign it to you or whatever. I don't know, whatever you want. But yeah, I've got both of those stories are like both of them. Jeff was there for part of them on each of those stories, and
that's a crazy story.
So those So
I mean, you guys were decent enough to take that thing and put it out of its misery, and then take it and dispose of it. Most people wouldn't do that.
Yeah. I don't know. It was an emotional night.
It really was.
It really was.
But memorable. Obviously, I just told that entire story.
Not very memorable, but still a good story.
So funny.
Hey, that's a nice t-shirt you got on there.
Oh, thanks, dude. It's brand new. Do you like that? It's one of the official What's Your Weird Story t-shirts.
Where'd you get that?
It's funny that you ask. I just got it off the brand new Spreadshirt.com site for the What's Your Weird Story podcast. There's no www. You just go straight to shop.spreadshirt.com/what's without the apostrophe WHATS -WEIRD-STORY, and that'll take you right there.
I mean, you can never own enough clothing.
Well, it's true, Barry. There's t-shirts for the ladies because they're cut differently. There's hoodies, which are really cool. There's two different kinds of hoodies, and there's also tote bags, so you can tote your stuff.
That's so cool, man.
So if you guys go out to spreadshirt.com, What's Your Weird Story, currently there are 2 designs, but there will be more going up very soon. So just keep your eyes out for that. And if you decide to get one of our shirts, tag yourself on Instagram to ours or Facebook. Show your love. Show us what you got. Let's see your true colors. Okay, well, I guess for my next portion of the episodes that I really liked, Man, there was just so many good ones, dude. Like the Emily with Cuckoo Banana Pants, and the fact that we lived in the same apartment, and she got so freaked out by living there, by the things that were there, that she moved, and I moved in right after her, and just did not experience a thing.
Yeah.
That was funny to me. Of course, the one where I told my missing time story, and with Mark Ray, sharing his prequel to that story where he had his experience out there with the UFO in Weatherford and the weird stuff that happened there. And that to me that's one of my personal favorites, because that's one of the stories, hearing his version of it and me telling what happened, my experiences that correlated with his, was one of the seeds that for this podcast, to where we would talk to people about their weird stories, because I wanted to do this double thing where I wanted to tell him what had gone on, and then of course Jeremy came on afterwards and told how he saw virtually the same thing, and how there's so many of these weird similar object in the sky sightings within a 5-6 year period there, and in our part of Oklahoma. That was pretty cool. But I also really loved Dara's episode. Are we allowed to cuss on here?
Yeah, that's right.
It was just so much.
Yeah.
So much for one person, and all of the things that she shared on there, and just Dara's just such a fun person, and having known her for 2 years, and intensely 2 years during our grad school program, and not had heard a single thing of that, and then to realize that her final thesis piece was actually based on these shadow being attacks that she was experiencing. It was just wow.
Yeah, that was great. Man, it's so crazy to think back on just how much we've, been able to be exposed to with the stories and the amount of people that we've met. Like I said, it doesn't seem like that long ago, but then when you start going back through 50 plus episodes, it's like, oh my gosh, man. Like, oh yeah, I remember that. I remember that. It's just crazy. And I'm super proud of the fact that we've been able to sort of stick with it for that long.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I mean, because it's a labor of love, but like you said before, we get to hang out every week, and I that's special, and that's fun, and it's, as you get older, taking time out to hang out with your friends is what it's all about to me, and your family,
Yeah, for sure, man.
But yeah, so I'll go. I got another one that you reminded me of as you were telling me your story, and I had to go look it up.
Okay.
Because I couldn't remember the episode number, but it's number 25, and that was with Desi and her Shannon, her ex-roommate or whatever.
Yeah.
Oh my God, man! Both of them had great stories, and but man, the one that really sort of stuck out to me was his story about the thing that chased him home.
Oh yeah.
Was so freaking like goosebumps.
Yep. Yeah, I've got them right now. Yeah. Just thinking about it.
Me too.
So freaky. And maybe because we had spent some time down south when we went to the Bigfoot Fest. Mm-hmm. Something about being, in that area. Not that they were close to that area, but they're getting down into the Arbuckle area. Mm-hmm. It's just a different vibe than kind of where we're at, and he just told a great story. It was fantastic. I just loved it. As you were telling your story, I remembered that. I was like, I got to find out which one that was.
Yeah, both times Desi came on, she had some great stories.
Yeah, for sure.
And bringing Shannon on, and it just it was so fortunate that we were able to schedule them to be on the same day, but they decided to be on at the same time. So we had Desi and then Shannon, they were at the same place, they were sharing it, and we're able to be there and commenting on each other, and that was really cool. But yeah, his story, man, that again, that's another one of those really creepy, freaky things that would just, I just don't know what I would do.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and he did.
I just don't know what I do. And
he didn't seem like the kind of guy that would like, you know, it was real to you know, to him, and you could tell when he told the story. Yeah,
because I mean, like Desi said, he's a bullshitter. You know, he cuts up and he does all this stuff, but like, and when we were talking to him before and all that and cutting up and having a good time and getting to know each other beforehand, yeah, he was that guy. But then, of course, when he started telling that story, man, totally changed.
Yeah.
And it was a different thing. And there was a seriousness that, you know, was there. And like, just, you know, intensity that you really like. That's why we all get goosebumps now, you know, several months later. So
right.
Yeah, you know, that happened fairly late at night. It seems like it was between 11 and midnight or whatever. And he's out with his buddies. He's young. He's in the country. You know, and you hear something in the woods, you don't see it, and you're out there with your buddies, and you know, there's times like that where you can just get scared, you know, and you can kind of make yourself think that there's something, you know, out there. You're not really sure, but it's kind of a group mentality, you know, and you're all together, everybody's scared, and so they took off running.
Yeah.
And that could have been the end of it, but it wasn't. There was something out there. It wasn't their imagination. And that thing hitting the doors, and I mean, that thing was just trying to scare the ever-loving shit out of those kids, man.
Yeah, no kidding.
For real.
Yeah. That was amazing.
Hub, you got any more you want to comment on?
Yeah, I think I did have one more. Let me see here. I did enjoy the one of the most recent stories, the Hitman Request. I thought, you know, that was an interesting story, and one that we don't get a whole lot of, you know, or haven't had anything quite like that.
Yeah, Andrew was a great guest, and man, that was out of nowhere. I mean, you know, he found us there on Instagram, and we corresponded, and you know, again, he's got more stories for us, so you'll be hearing from him in year 2 of the podcast coming up. But like all of that was just
relationship
just amazing,
gone absolutely absurd.
I mean, well, it was, you know, I mean, it had a bad start in the first place, but you know, once you get a gun is offered up as a gift, I think that's kind of you know, there's so many red flags that he just completely, you know, missed. But you know, but just such a great story, and I still am convinced there was no kid that she didn't have a child.
I don't
with him.
I that.
You agree? You said, Hub?
Yeah. I don't think you know, she was so full of shit on everything, and then when he, you know, finally was just like, okay, you know, I'm ready, I'm coming out there, you know, and the story changes, and all of a sudden she's letting her cousin adopt the kid, and I don't know. Yeah. It was completely fabricated, but what a nightmare scenario.
Oh, dark. So dark.
She was just spinning a web, and he just was just entangled all in it, and it was a nightmare scenario.
Yeah.
Nightmare woman.
And he really got out pretty unscathed. I mean, you know, he's very fortunate. And now I know he said that he still, you know, every once in a while she'll pop up on some kind of a social media kind of thing where he knows it's her in disguise, but still, you know, he got out physically unscathed, and you know, he's you know, well-adjusted guy. So, that's a story that, I mean, and I applaud him for, saying, that I had some bad things, or I shouldn't have gotten involved with her, or whatever, but, he owned up to, like, kind of his thing. But, I mean, it could have just gotten so bad somewhere so many times. Oh, yeah. And he just was, but he's such a good dude, and just really cool talking to him.
Yeah.
And creator of a really funny podcast as well, Crypta. If you guys haven't checked that out, go check out his Crypta podcast. But yeah, that was good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I could sit here with all these episodes and talk about every one of the episodes that we've done. I mean,
oh yeah,
it would take us 8 hours to
for sure
to get through it all.
For sure, I mean,
yeah,
like I don't want people, Emotron,
yeah,
Visitor 10,
yeah,
wow,
Head Cheese,
yes.
All these people that don't even have regular people names, Amy with her twice in her 2 stories, with Killer and the UFOs and all of that, man, just so much good stuff. We've been very fortunate. We've been very fortunate to have a lot of support from our friends, from the people that we grew up with, for for sharing their stories and stuff that they've never we've never heard, and it's been so cool. And also all the new people that we've met and become friends with through this experience. We've been so blessed, so fortunate, so whatever you want to look at it. We've been very lucky to have all these people want to share and want to be a part of it. And man, we really appreciate it. Every single person, we know we couldn't mention everybody who've been on all of our 52 previous episodes. Last week with Dr. Louie, just so much, man. Mm-hmm. There's so much, but we really, really appreciate everybody for being on and sharing. And if we didn't mention you by name, we still, you're in our hearts and you're our friends, and you may have come on the show as a stranger, but you're a friend now, and you may have come on as a friend that we had growing up, or from some other point in our life, but we're still, we're friends, and we really appreciate your friendship and your sharing, and opening up to us and the world. So
it may happen at some point that we don't become friends with somebody that we interview, but I mean, so far it's been fantastic. We've gotten to meet some really, really interesting, cool, laid back, fun, funny people.
Yeah.
And
I heard.
You guys are great interviewers. I mean, you couldn't ask for 2 guys with 2 more open minds than you've got. Also, you guys have got a great knowledge base. You're able to talk to all these individuals and carry on a great conversation that's entertaining to listen to. And the way you guys have kept up, 52 episodes, never missed a week.
There were times when
that says a lot about.
Yeah.
And there are times where Barry's like, I get a text from Barry on Monday. It's like, hey, did we have something? Did I do this thing this week? I'm like, no, dude, I'm waiting for it. Where is it at?
But your dedication's there, and you can tell that you love what you're doing. And I know most everybody that listens to this looks forward to it every Tuesday, just like I do. So thanks, guys. Thanks to you too.
Thank you, man. Golly, Hub.
Thank you, Hub.
I mean, the weird thing is that I don't think I ever thought that we would have made it to 53 shows. I mean, we were just shooting from the hip, and it's been fun, and when it's not fun, we won't do it. But it's just like really enjoyable. And when you've had a hard day and you come home and you're like, I've got a podcast to do, and every time you get on with somebody, you're just like, you leave that feeling more energized, and just making friends and talking with different people really helps put things into perspective a little bit. That's at least it has for me. I didn't think it would be that rewarding, really, but I mean, we've only been going a year, but I still feel like that's taught me something, you know.
Totally agree with that, man. Couldn't agree more. So, and Hub, you know, you are our special correspondent. You are our resident Bigfoot expert. You are the voice of the listener. Also, one of my favorite episodes, or two of them, you know, when you read off Andrew's story, our first international story, and the viewer and the listener mail and comments and all that stuff. But you're also, man, you are part of the show. You're part of the team. And we know your time to be as regular is limited because, you know, you got a lot of things juggling. But we, you know, you are also the occasional, you are a co-host. So, you know,
yeah,
just, you know, know that.
I think it needs to be known that, like, the idea for Hub coming on was like everything else that we've done, which is like, hey man, like, it'd be cool to have a third voice on here at some point. And then, hey, we should get Hub to do it. And it's like, yeah, let's do that. Let's get Hub to do it. And then he agreed to do it. And then it's like, you know, when you're doing this and some people may not, you know because they don't do that. They don't do interviews or anything like that. I've never conducted interviews either in this format. There is a give and take from everyone involved. You know, stepping on each other and stuff like that is just, you kind of got to figure it out. But I got to say, there was really never any lag time between the episodes that, you know, Hub started to be involved in and us just sort of gelling as a group. And Hubbard, you bring such a different angle to things, and you bring questions that either one of us would ask, and, you know, we just love having you, man.
Yeah, definitely, man. You are definitely a welcomed addition. You really rounded out. You made the tables more steady because we got 3 legs, and you know, like one of my cats. And
I've got 3 legs.
So you know.
You know what I mean? Sorry, Mom and Dad.
Well, I appreciate you guys bringing me on board. You know, when I heard you guys were going to start this thing up, I was very excited. I couldn't wait for that first episode, and then I was racking my brain to see how I could get on the show to at least be a guest. And then when you guys offered a spot to come on and maybe do a few things, I was excited about it. So it's a lot of fun to be a part of it, and I appreciate it, guys.
That's cool.
I do.
We love.
Yeah, man. So anytime you're on, man, you just know that you have multiple hats, but one of the that all falls under the rather large hat of being our co-host as well. So,
and getting us to go down to the Bigfoot Festival, man, was just a great. That was a great time. We had such a good time. At a certain point, we've got some footage, or I should say, audio bites socked away that we have to release at some point. When we can figure out what to do with them, you know, because there's some pretty funny stuff on there, man.
Well, we've been squirreling away some special, you know, extra bits of audio and interview stuff that we've recorded of our own telling stories, and you know, and we've got another shit story from Jimmy that is just, you know, too much for the show. So we've got some episodes that we're eventually going to make available for, you know, for that you can download for, you know, for like Patreon or something like that. We're going to get around to that when we get some more followers and when we get more built up. And so you can listen to these episodes or whatever that, you know, may be something that you're interested in. But then we also know that not everybody is want to hear more of Jimmy's or our own particular defecation themed stories.
It's a great idea, though. I mean, you know, at least on paper, it's a great idea. It may never come to fruition, but it's a great idea.
We've got a special vault that one day we will open.
We also have a 2-hour long conversation between you and myself and music.
Yeah. Well, we've got that as well. If you want to hear,
that is just I don't know if anybody would ever want to hear that.
That would, it's basically, yeah, it'd be like eavesdropping to, two guys that are sitting at a bar or a coffee shop or a diner, just rambling on about the music that they like, and you're just like, wow.
And everybody else is like, what the fuck are they talking about? Where's the weird shit? Yeah.
Yeah. One day we had a guest cancel, so we were just trying to fill in. So use the time, and we just kind of talked. So
no, it was fun.
But yeah, it was fun, and that'll be in the vaults that we will eventually open at some point.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
cool. All right. Well, let's get to some frequently asked questions, and.
We need like a game show, like like.
Well, hey, you're the audio guy. You're the sound guy. You're the one doing all that end.
Yeah,
that's up to you entirely. So we'll pause here for then you can insert it. So I'm like, and now time for frequently asked question. All right, there we go. Sunday, October. Oh, Saturday, October 19th, Enid, Oklahoma, at the Enid Brewing Place. Barry, what's it called?
Enid Brewing Company on the corner of Independence and Main.
That's right. Hopefully, we got your attention just now. That's right. Saturday, October 19th. You've heard us talk about it. We're talking about it again. Our very first live event, What's Your Beer Story, where we're going to be featuring your three co-hosts telling and sharing true life stories of the beer kind, the had too much to drink kind, the hold my beer, etc., kind. And we are inviting you to be there to share your stories as well. You can try out the variety of beers available and made exclusively by the Enid Brewing Company, including co-host Barry Johnson, who is one of the brewmasters there. And also hear some funny stories and have a good time and just catch up with us. It'll be a fun time. We're going to do stuff. It'll be hilarious. It's going to be fun. We'd love to see you. Join us Saturday, October 19th, 2019, Enid, Oklahoma. All right, we had to pause for a little bit there so Jeff could take care of his little one. But we're back to these questions. And this will be one we can pretty much guess at least one answer 100% for sure. But the next question is, what's your favorite cryptid?
Is that directed?
That's all of it. That's all of it. But I think we all know for sure yours.
Yeah, I mean, mine, Bigfoot for sure. Yeah. It's it hasn't been a lifelong love affair, but a good, 15 to 20 years, 15 solid. Bigfoot is definitely my favorite cryptid.
What got you started on that, Hub?
I think I've discussed it before, but it was I was at a new job, and we had been really busy for the first 4 or 5 months I was there, and then the summertime was slow, and was on the internet all the time, and a story came up about Bigfoot, and I decided, no better way to use my time than to try to get to the bottom of the Bigfoot mystery. So I looked at all kinds of information all over the internet, and that's really where the love affair began.
And you fell hard.
I did
hard for Bigfoot, dude.
I did.
I
totally did. Yeah, yeah. It's been a crush that has just kept going.
Because you weren't really into much of the weird stuff, at least not like I was when we were growing up. I had books, and I would show you guys these books about all the weird things, in the world, and you guys would, you look at them and you're like, cool, but like I was into it. I liked really reading about it, and I liked the X-Files and all that kind of stuff. But then, like, when you started talking about Bigfoot, man, it was a whole other level thing. I could tell, and then everybody else around you, everybody listening needs to understand that pretty much everybody in Jeff's life, his family, his, coworkers, the rest of our friends, give him so much hell and teasing about his love of Bigfoot. But but we support him, because we get it.
Judgment-free zone here, boys.
That's right. That's right.
Thank you for that.
I'll have to. I'm gonna go Bigfoot also.
Are you?
Yeah, because every time, and the only reason why I say that is because every time I see a story on it, I check it out immediately. And then I started watching there's a couple of shows out there that like the Les Stroud one that he did. Although some of the footage there that they finally do show of the. Have you seen that, Hub? Have you seen the Les Stroud?
I still have not watched that.
Okay.
I need to get on that.
Well, it's pretty good, and he's kind of a no frills kind of guy. But I thought the footage leading up to, like the footage of them walking in it takes place in Canada. This guy has him out to where he says that he spotted a family, and he's actually taken video of the family. And the video itself is like, you see these creatures behind, like the evergreen trees, but some of them are kind of close up of the face, and it looks a little fake to me. But the stuff leading up to it, I thought was interesting, and part of it was that they'd break those trees in half, and they'd be they'd all be going the same direction. I don't know. I thought it was pretty cool, and the way that they would take the trees and they would like bring a bunch of trees together and interweave them. That was pretty fascinating. I was like,
yeah,
that kind of stuff is like, man, who could do that? What's strong enough to pull something like that off? So I don't know. It's that's my favorite.
Well, I'm also a big fan of Bigfoot. I like reading about Bigfoot and stuff like that. When I was little, I would answer Loch Ness Monster.
Yeah,
for sure, because of dinosaurs.
That's true.
And I do love the Loch Ness Monster. But I think my favorite from lore, and I think it's more of it's kind of a cryptid, but it's also kind of a supernatural thing. So it's kind of crosses the line. But I have to say the Jersey Devil.
Oh, yeah.
Jersey Devil?
Yeah. That was one of them I was thinking about also. Yeah. That's a good one. That's a good one. If you haven't heard of the Jersey Devil, look it up. You can find lots of different pictures and illustrations of it. It's supposed to be, it's an old legend there in New Jersey, about some woman who was, wicked, and she had all these kids, and it was like the seventh child or something, unlucky, and it was, born of the devil or something, demon, something like that. So it has these old supernatural things, but people still report seeing this thing, and it's got a long, thin body, kind of like I think people describe it as like a deer, long, thin deer, or like think about like a racing greyhound, Yeah. And then it's got kind of a horse-like head, and often it's got wings, like bat wings and stuff, but it's just a creepy thing, and all the stories about it are really creepy, and it's just kind of I don't know, it's just cool. It's just a cool idea. I like it. I wouldn't want to encounter it, but I like hearing about it. Yeah, for sure. I was also, I guess my number 2 would have been Mothman. I think that's a cool one.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But there's some creepy shit about Mothman out there. But yeah, cool.
All right. Well, let's move on to our next one. Do you think we will have full disclosure, or ever? Do you think we'll ever have full disclosure? And meaning, will we ever have our governments and the people in charge saying, yes, UFOs are real, and we have been, talking to them, or we have, wreckage or anything, that they have any absolute knowledge of yes or no that this is, it's a real thing, and instead of saying no, we don't.
I think there's always going to be some amount of non-disclosure, because They may get to the point where, they go ahead and just decide to let us see, some of what they've got. But, like, it's in the government's best interest to keep those things to themselves, because if you believe such things, they're developing technologies that they're trying to figure out what's out there, and why would you let other governments in on that? Not that the other governments probably don't have an idea what's going on. They're developing their own stuff, I'm sure. But I don't know. I just kind of the way I see it. I don't see it.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think it's going to be like that until something happens that they just can't hide. There's a crash site that's too big to contain.
Yeah.
It happens in front of too many people. It's completely covered. It's not, it's covered by news stations. It's not Photoshop private footage. And I think something like that is going to have to happen.
Yeah.
Before they give us any type of, disclosure.
Yeah. God,
Well,
I would love that if they would. I would love if they would,
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, go ahead, Adam. I was going to say, I don't know. I don't know. We haven't ever discussed in full detail about, and I think it's called off, but I think that there's still maybe something that's going to happen with the storm, Area 51. What is it? Got to see them aliens?
Yeah.
Is that what it is?
Operation Got to See Them Aliens.
Yeah. Barry and I briefly talked about it, but just saying to people that it was a really bad idea.
Yeah.
To try to take a United States military installation by force, trying to overthrow one, because they will answer back, and they have publicly said that they will answer back with lethal violence. It's just a bad idea all around.
Yeah, not a good idea.
Yeah. Plus, everybody really knows that whatever was there at Area 51 has been moved a long time ago.
Yeah,
well, I mean, and we talked a little bit before about, if you believe what Bob Lazar has said, he's always said it's never been at Area 51. He's always said it's been scattered out all over the place.
Yeah, which only makes sense.
Yeah, and no one team of people knows what the other team knows, that there are, technically knows that there are other people, but if there are other people, they're all working on separate things at once, but none of them have all of what they need to make the thing come together. Do you know what I'm saying? So it's like, you separate everyone, you give them a specific task, and then they could be spread out all over the United States.
Yeah. Nobody's got the whole picture.
Right.
Yeah. And I think that's, it's smart for them to do that. If this is what's happening, because, you keep it from too much. In that particular case, too much information, could be utilized. I mean, somebody could hack in, somebody could break in as a spy, and if you can't have everything there all together, because that would make it where you're, I'll just take this and go, because we're smarter than that now. We did to just leave all of our knowledge base, our secret knowledge, in one place. So, but yeah, I agree. I don't think that we'll have a complete 100% disclosure ever, because there will be just until I don't think we'll get it from our government until the day that maybe the aliens just arrive in mass. And I don't know if that day will ever happen, because man, I wouldn't, if I was a more advanced race of being and looking down on our planet, I would to say, avoid. It's like, we give out travel warnings to places that are, considered, chaotic, or, like there's, a lot of violence, or, it's a bad place for Americans to go, for whatever reason. But I think that the entire planet Earth it's a bad place for aliens to go.
Yeah. That's a whole other question there, It's interesting to think about for sure, man. Part of the reason why we do the show, I guess.
All right. So the next question is kind of kind of branches off from the previous questions. What kind of weird encounter would you like to have?
Man, that's kind of a scary question.
Mm-hmm.
I typically am a person that scares rather easily, I think.
Yeah.
And it depends, would it a close encounter? I would love to, I guess, ghosts, I don't really want to be around a ghost, but a sighting of a Bigfoot from, not too far of a distance, but close enough that I can, tell it's a Bigfoot, maybe observe. Also, an alien spacecraft, I would love to have a close enough encounter with a ship like that. I don't want to be beamed up. I don't want to be probed.
Yeah.
But I want to see those flashing lights.
That's exactly what I was going to say, Hud. It's like, you got to be careful for what you wish for. And like the Bigfoot things, like there's too much unpredictable behavior there. We don't know, and you're dealing with a massive thing, a massive creature. Aliens would be, I think, if I could stay conscious and I could take it in, but not have the probing. I'd prefer no probing. I would have.
So you could take in everything but the probe.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly. I think I'm leaning that way. I think I'm going that way. Although when I think about ghostly encounters, I do think about maybe a visit from a loved one, possibly on the other side or something like that. I think that would be. I've had something similar to that, but to have an actual thing that happened, I think would be interesting. I don't know if it's what I'd want to happen. Probably scare the hell out of me, but I'm going to say aliens.
Yeah, I am also. I wouldn't want to see a ghost either. Even a kind ghost, I just I don't know. I don't want to have that experience. That's a little bit too scary all around to me.
Yeah.
Aliens would be really cool as well, as long as it was a kind of a peaceful. Hey, buddy, we want to be friends. Let's come aboard the ship and we'll show you around. That kind of thing.
Yeah.
No probing or sample collecting from me. But and Bigfoot would be really cool too. But I think for me, I would really love to see the Loch Ness Monster. Yeah. That would be really cool, because one, that would mean that I was in there in Loch Ness in Scotland. So that would be really cool.
That'd be great, trip. That'd be great.
Yeah,
trip.
it'd be great.
Yeah.
So.
That would be cool and relatively safe. As long as you're on land, maybe at that point, definitely. That overlook. Mm-hmm. I like that.
Cool. All right. Let's see. Next, we have a couple of "Would you ever?"
Okay. I got some ideas about this.
First one is: would you ever use a Ouija board?
I have used a Ouija board. It's scary shit, man. I don't know as an adult that I'd want to play around with that stuff. Just because if there's the possibility of unleashing something or something attaching itself to me, I'm just not into that at all, you know? Like I was thinking about that the other day, like all the people that we've talked to, you know, and the interesting things that have happened to them. I love hearing the stories. I don't know that I want to be the one involved in seeing shadow people. You know what I mean? Like that shit just scares the hell out of me, man.
Yeah. Trying to sleep, you know, without shadow people is tough enough at this age.
Right.
I don't need that lurking
no kidding.
in the corner. Yeah. So, you know, I too, as a youth, utilized a Ouija board. I probably, you know, given the right circumstances, I'd probably give it another shot.
Would you try it, like, if you could go to what we know to be a haunted house, or people seeing a lot of stuff, would you do that in an environment like that?
Gosh, man, I don't know. I mean, that's real there, you know.
Right.
Sitting in my living room, I don't know if it's real.
Right.
But, yeah, that would be... But, I mean, I might. Depends on my state of mind, I think.
Right. If you had a couple of cold beers, you might be.
Yeah. I might have the courage to do
little liquid courage. Yeah, okay. I get you. Yeah, I don't think I've ever messed around. I've been around one whenever people were playing with it, but I don't think I ever really played with it. And I guess I just saw too many scary movies and stuff like that when I was a kid, just not to mess with it. And of course, you know, growing up as religious as we did, that was definitely one of those things you just didn't mess with.
You know, there was a time when I'm not going to mention any names, but there was a time when some of our friends, as we were growing up, we were in our early teens probably, and they started to kind of get into Necronomicon and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And that stuff just used to scare the shit out of me, man. And I was always just like, I don't want to participate. I'm not going to participate in this, man. I don't know what's happening. You know, I don't know if I can't see it. I don't know. You know.
Yeah.
Necronomicon and then some of the darker side of like some of the super heavy death metal bands that were coming out at that time, and shit that you were just like, okay, this is real. You know, these guys aren't playing around. You know?
Yeah, exactly. They're even. I mean, people look at Ouija boards generally as like they're just fun things, you know. And who's moving it? I'm not moving it. You are. You know, that kind of thing. But for people who really believe it, you know, and have had the spooky experiences, and the people who put the belief into the darker things like that, you know, it's kind of like it activates something, you know, around them.
Oh yeah.
And it's just, you know, it can get scary. It can get creepy. You're inviting the darkness of whatever. Even if it's not demons or whatever, you're still inviting the darkness of those things that are in you. Yeah. And that can be pulled around you. And that's just, you know, it's a bad thing. So you got to be really careful if you're going to play around with any kind of, you know, magic or whatever, even if you believe it or you don't, you know, you still got to really be careful, because, you know, you might be messing with forces that we just don't understand. That's and right. You might bring something onto yourself that you just don't get, you don't know. And we've had people talk about that on the show. So it's just, you know, for me, the thing, better safe than sorry on that. So.
But listeners, don't let any of this conversation deter you from using a Ouija board, because we would love for you to continue and come on the show we want and tell us about your scary experiences.
That's right. Yes, that's true. That's true. Also, you know, and if your Bloody Mary summonings or anything like that, I'm just a chicken. I'm not going to mess with that kind of stuff. So that kind of evolves into the next question, and Barry kind of even touched on it, is like, would you ever go on a ghost tour or stay in a haunted house or hotel or something like that?
My wife, I keep saying I'm going to do it for her, because she really wants to do something like that. She claims that she would be able to stay all night. You know, I don't believe her. I don't believe she's all talk, man. I would like to do that though. I think I would. Yeah. Count me in.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead. Go.
I just don't know if I would. I don't know. It really has to just depend on like the condition of the place. If
Correct.
It's your cartoon broken down, kind of like scary house that I couldn't, Scooby-Doo Mansion,
right. True.
Where it's like you can't sit down without being in cobwebs and stuff like that. No, I'll pass. Hard pass on that. But if it's like, a nice haunted mansion with its comforts and, TV and internet, or maybe not even that, maybe there's some books or something, some kind of entertainment, maybe ping pong with the ghost or whatever, that would be okay maybe. But overall, I don't know, probably I guess I'll give that a maybe.
Okay. Now we did, I don't know if this place is really haunted or not, but there's the Stone Lion Inn in Guthrie.
Yeah, man. I wanted to check that out.
I was going to mention this, because I remember you telling me about this.
Yeah, it is a, it's a cool experience. It's a dinner theater, kind of a role. A week before you go, you get assigned a role and you play a role. And that's kind of the main thing with this, but also there have been ghost sightings and encounters in there. And it was a house, and then I'm not sure exactly when, but it was also a morgue, and they have one of the original, metal tables where they, embalm people and did all that. We took. We spent the night in the house, and we took a bunch of pictures that night and with a digital camera, and damn near every picture we took contained orbs. There were orbs in there, but I don't know. To me, it seemed like it was low light situation, and that was a dimly lit house, and I think that there was some, I don't know. Yeah. I don't know what causes those, but other than the orbs, we didn't have any kind of a weird experience. But as far as, a house someone was murdered in that is out in the countryside or something like that, that's kind of locked up, chained up, I'm not sneaking in there and staying the night.
That's true.
I'm not going to do that.
That's true.
I'm not going to do that.
Yeah. It would need to be the right circumstances for sure. I would do it in like a part of an investigative team or something like that, where I'm with other people. Maybe we went to the Stanley Hotel in Estes Park, Colorado, which is where Stephen King wrote The Shining, and it's supposedly like super haunted. And we took the tour and stuff, and it was cool, but it was like during the day. There's a lot of people there. It wasn't the same as being there by yourself,
Yeah.
So, you're right. It need to be the right circumstance.
Staying in this kind of haunty, spooky theme, would you ever participate in a seance?
I'll tell you right now, hell no.
Yep.
No.
Don't, again, I just not a big interest for me, I mean, just, I'm fine with dead people being wherever they are, being separate from us and there on the side. I don't need to go poking around to see what's over there.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's kind of similar lines to a Ouija board, but it is being, a seance is not going to be led by me. Right. It's going to be a seasoned professional, somebody who's probably had experience conjuring up spirits, and I don't know. Yeah, I would definitely have to think twice before. You talk about possibly bringing something through the gates and attaching itself to you, I think that would probably be one of the best opportunities for that to happen.
Yeah, for sure. I think, again, that would be another situational thing. Like, I could see why somebody would want to do that.
Mm-hmm. Oh, sure.
You know what I'm saying? And you got to support people that want, to do that, to find answers and stuff, whatever those may be. But I think for me, I'm cool with letting things be the way that they are and not trying to disturb, that.
Yeah. All right. So our last would you ever is would you ever leave planet Earth on a UFO to go and see another alien planet and civilization?
Yes.
I'd be so down for that.
Yeah, I would, man. Well, first of all, you got some friendly ass aliens, I think. If they're willing to take you on an all expense paid trip back to the motherland on the mothership. So now I don't know. I don't know if that comes with the opportunity to come back home or, and who knows if they're lying to you. Say they say they're going to take you. We're going to show you around. We're going to bring you right back here. No time will have passed on Earth. But they may be keeping you. But if they wanted to keep you, why would they tell you a lie? They could just take you.
Yeah.
So I don't know. You'd probably have to take an alien at their word because they can do whatever the hell they want.
Yeah, that's for sure.
I would. Go ahead,
I would agree. I would agree with that. I would go. I have a fascination with seeing space anyway, and being out and doing that, and like I have this fantasy that because my wife wants to be cremated, and apparently I need to be cremated too. So if we're gonna go that route, I've always thought, man, take a piece of me, dude, and shoot me up in a rocket ship. You know what I mean? Like I want to be floating out in space. I just think there's something about it that just fascinates me, and I think it goes back to when we were kids and Star Wars and the movies that or the TV shows, Star Trek, and just that idea that like there's life out there and we're sort of just like in this vast space that we just can't really understand. It'd be cool to be able to see things from that perspective, I think.
Yeah, it would be really just mind-blowing, I guess would be the word for it, because everything would be alien. Everything would be so strange and new to you, and beyond imagination. And it would be just like, we're curious creatures, and given that opportunity, I would just absolutely go for it. No problem. I would leave, even if I didn't have to, even if I didn't come back.
Yeah.
I would go for it.
Right.
I'd absolutely go for it. So cool. All right. Well, let's see what else if we got any other here.
What do you think about those people that are like lined up to go to Mars, knowing that they're not coming back? What do you think about that? Would you be obviously take out the fact that you have a family and stuff like that. If you were by yourself and you didn't have any real responsibilities on this planet, would you consider doing that?
Can I take my cats?
I mean, sure, I guess.
Okay. Yeah, I'd do it.
I'd assume they'd survive.
Would I probably would if especially if we had buildings and structures, and if we had colonized it enough to where it was livable within, the buildings and the structures and all that, because, and we had a way to where we would have good, quick communication between our two planets.
Right.
But, basically, I guess, if Marsville was set up and was just, kind of another town. It was just doing, just another town on another planet. Why not, man? I mean, if I can get tacos there, then yeah.
I wonder what a Mars taco tastes like.
I don't know, man. I guess I should say, definitely spicy. I would guess I should clarify even further and say, if we can get El Charro on Mars, I don't care if it's just El Charro on Mars. I'll go. So.
That's great.
Yeah, I like that. That would be good.
Do you guys have any other ideas for questions that we can, just these random thoughts?
I think you touched it. I mean, I
didn't touch it.
Well, you touched me.
I didn't.
I'll bet you.
I never did. I never did. I may have been touched, but I never touched. What happens at Bigfoot camp?
Yeah, right.
What happens at Bigfoot camp stays at Bigfoot camp.
Right. That is true.
Hey everybody, you're listening to the What's Your Weird Story podcast. You probably knew that already because you're listening or downloaded to the episode off of your iTunes or your Spotify or whatever place you get your podcast from. We want to thank you for listening. We also want to remind you to like us, follow us, subscribe to us, make sure that you get your new podcast episode every week. We'd also like to ask you to rate and review so that we can grow our audience, we can have more friends, we can have more stories. So thanks for listening to What's Your Weird Story.
Well, happy birthday to us.
Yes. And many more.
And
many more, let's hope. So, we appreciate... we're so thankful, guys. We can't, guys and gals and pals and everybody out there listening, we cannot express enough. We say it every week, but we mean it. We love you guys. We appreciate the support that you give us. We love hearing from you. We love hearing your stories. We couldn't do it without you guys and without your stories or leading us to people with stories. And you guys are what make this happen. We're patting ourselves on the back here, but every week, we pat you guys on the back for just showing up. So.
Yeah, every guest was amazing. We could have sat here and talked about every episode. We could have. It would have taken us days to get through it.
Yeah, for sure.
But it's just every week we met a new friend and we discuss things, and it's compelling and it's interesting and it's funny. And it's scary, and it's just it's all the things that you enjoy and look forward to. It's just been great, and thanks to everybody that's tuned in and everybody that's come on and continue getting in touch with us. We want to hear your stories, and we got a whole other year coming up here to fill up. So let's make it happen.
Yeah, I can't wait to see what's around the corner for the podcast guys. Everybody has been great. Everyone that's been on, the listeners are very important as well, because I don't know. We might do it anyway just to hang out, but people have to be listening.
Yeah.
And the listeners are very important. And I know when the totals come in each week, and they keep growing on the amount of listeners. I love to see the new numbers and your excitement, and it really has been a lot of fun, and I've really enjoyed being part of the team, guys.
Well, we love having you, man.
Yeah, for sure.
It's just been a lot of fun, and it's a trip that people actually listen.
Yeah.
And not just people we know, there's people all around the world. And we have, we track where we can see, we don't know exactly where you are, but we can see what, sometimes we can see what town you're in, and what areas they're listening. And, we find who do we know in in Denmark. Well, who do we know in, in
Canada.
Australia,
Right.
Canada, and all these places? Who's in China,
Right.
who's all over, who's in, some random town in the USA that listens to us more than others, who knows? But it's just, I don't know. It's just mind blowing. It's just, it's as unbelievable. Sorry.
Yeah.
It's as unbelievable as the stories that we get to hear.
Yeah, and the technology has allowed us to do something like this. We wouldn't have been able to do this 25 years ago, 30 years ago.
Yeah.
If you told me as a kid that you'd be able to do something like this, I'd have been like, you're crazy. But we live in a time where I think people have the ability to, step away from their lives at work, or they're trying to fill their time up with something of some entertainment quality, and hopefully we can provide that to some degree. It's very humbling to think that people actually want to tune in and listen to some friends talk about some weird stuff. It's it's cool. It's cool.
We could go on all night and praising you and praising each other and praising all of our guests, but we need to, go ahead and wrap this up, and Jeff needs to go make some hot dogs for his little girl, and Barry needs to go and do his thing, and I need to stop talking. So thanks for listening, everybody. Tune in next week for part 2 of our interview with Dr. Turi. And then the following week, we have our first truly international guest, Jake from Australia.
It's a good one.
And it's a good one. And he woke up early in the morning to speak with us here in the USA in the afternoon, and which wasn't easy because he's a rocker. He's a musician, so early is not one of his usual things. So, but that was a great and a fun interview.
Yeah.
And we got those 2 things to look forward, and so much more coming up in this new year. And as always, we want to hear all your stories. We want you to come and spend some time with us and hang out. Tell your friends, tell your neighbors, tell everybody. Come back, be part of Weirdsville, help Weirdsville grow. And we will see you next time. And in that meantime, be safe.
Be weird.
As always, if you have a weird story, we want to hear it.
If you have a lot of them, we want to hear them all.
We can't do this podcast without your invaluable contributions.
Whether it's sharing your stories,
Listening,
rating,
and spreading the word about the podcast. Thanks for listening. Till next time, be safe.
be weird.
The stories presented on